Hi, everyone, and good morning, and welcome to Webinar Wednesdays with SMP. We're glad to have you all here with us this morning. My name is Sunny Lawless, and I'm the volunteer coordinator for our SMP programs. And joining us today, they're going to be our presenters, is Ms. Danielle Guillory and Ms. Danae Brown. They're both community outreach specialists for our SMP in Mississippi. And today, for the March installment of our Webinar Wednesday series, we're going to be talking about how you can protect your identity from scammers. Now, during the presentation, you're more than welcome to type any questions that you might have into the chat, but we're going to hold all of those until the end of the presentation when we open things up for Q&A. There's also going to be a prize drawing at the end of the presentation today. You had to have been registered to attend before 10:15 this morning. So as long as you were registered before then, your name's going to be on our prize wheel, and you must be present to win. Before we get started with today's presentation, we do have to let you know that this project is supported by the Administration for Community Living, Department of Health and Human Services as part of a financial assistance award with 100% of that funding by ACL and HHS. The contents are those of the authors and do not necessarily represent the official views of, nor are they endorsement by ACL, HHS, or the US government. So who is Senior Medicare Patrol? Well, SMPs are grant-funded projects of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Administration for Community Living. All SMP grantees have a national identity and a shared national identity, through a national program name and logo. Every state has its own Senior Medicare Patrol program. In Georgia, Louisiana, and in Mississippi, SMP is sponsored by AdviseWell. And our mission is to empower and assist Medicare beneficiaries, their families, and caregivers to prevent, detect, and report healthcare fraud, errors, and abuse. And we do that through outreach, counseling, and education. Now, before we get started with today's presentation, we do have a quick polling question for you. And so our polling question for today is, has anyone ever called you and asked you for your Medicare or your Social Security number? I'm going to launch the poll and you can answer yes or no. Have you ever received a phone call from someone who asked you for your Medicare or Social Security number? And we'll just take a few moments to give everybody an opportunity to enter their answer. Okay, just a few more seconds. We have about 78% people have voted. Let's see. All right, so I'm going to close the poll and share the results. And so this is kind of surprising. Only 29% of you said yes and 71% of you said no. We receive phone calls from beneficiaries all the time who are receiving these phone calls where there's someone claiming, from Medicare that wants their Medicare number, or someone from Social Security who's asking them to verify their number. So we're going to turn things over to Danielle now, and she's going to talk about the fraud and scams that can occur when people call and ask you for these numbers.
Good morning, everybody. How are y'all this morning? What we're going to talk about, my section of it, is all about the calls from scammers. And a lot of Medicare recipients have reported receiving calls, a little different than our polling showed up, from scammers that are claiming they're from Medicare, Social Security, a Medicare Advantage plan, insurance company. And we get a lot of reports of these types of calls on our toll-free hotline number. And during our outreach, when we're out in the community speaking about Senior Medicare Patrol, the callers claim that the new Medicare, Social Security, or Medicare Advantage plan benefits are being rolled out. Or sometimes they'll say that the state They'll state that the Medicare is sending out a new plastic card and they need the beneficiary's information to send out their new cards. And of course, all of these are scams. Next slide. So let's talk about what the scam artists may have information from. So they may have limited information about your name, your address. They sometimes even have your birth date. And they may be extremely aggressive. They may call multiple times, or they may wind up with a very threatening tone and tell the beneficiary that if they don't give them this information, they may lose benefits. And they may promise that they can improve your benefits or that the beneficiary is going to be receiving or decreasing the cost of their insurance. They'll say anything to obtain your personal information. Next slide. So on the previous slide, we talked about that the scammers may already have some of your information, such as your name, your address, and your birth date. How do they go about getting that information? So let's take a look at some of the methods that the scammers use to steal your information. Certainly hacking and data breaches happen. You may have received a letter from your local hospital or even from your credit card company that says there's been a data breach and your information may have been compromised. So data breaches are something that we keep hearing more and more about. And malicious hackers can target organizations that store a lot of this personal data. The banks, email providers, online retailers, of course, we've mentioned healthcare providers. Now that we have electronic medical records, a lot of things are out there on the internet that weren't there before. And once your personal details are leaked into a data breach, they can be sold on the dark web. Scammers might also get that information about us through government records, personal data like criminal records, property owner information, and other public records are freely available. A lot of people can just go online and look up who owns a house by looking at their local records. That's all out there on the internet now. Anyone can legally gather this information on you and sell it to other people, including scammers, and that part is 100% legal. Next slide. So another way the scammers learn so much about us is actually from us. We give away tons of personal data when we participate in surveys and contests, fill out product warranty cards on paper or online. All of this is data that can be sold legally or as part of a scam. Selling survey data is big business, and marketing firms and even criminals can learn a lot about us. We share personal updates on Facebook all the time. We put the pictures of our grandchildren up, or we tell someone happy birthday. We put our actual birthday, including the year, out there on Facebook so that our friends can tell us happy birthday. Scammers can turn to the social media post and learn so much about us because we just put it there and then they'll target us. If you discard or you recycle sensitive documents like your bank statements or utility bills without shredding them, then basically they can just dig through your garbage. They don't mind raiding your trash can to salvage your personal data. You should always shred your mail that has your name, your address, any account numbers, or any other personal data. Next slide. So now that we've covered how the scammers know so much about us, let's talk about what can happen if the scammers does steal your Medicare information. And here are just a few examples. You could become a victim of medical identity theft. You might be denied medical services or equipment due to a compromised Medicare number. You may have inaccurate information on your medical records, false diagnosis, inaccurate lab results. Medicare may be charged for services or equipment that you do not need or never received, and you may be financially responsible for medical services or equipment that you do not need or never received. Next slide. So let's take a look at what you can do to help stop Medicare card scams. Do not answer calls from numbers you do not recognize. That is just the easiest way not to make that mistake. You don't answer a call from a number you don't recognize. If it's somebody you know, they'll leave you a voicemail. Do not confirm your Medicare number or say yes on a call to any questions if it is not someone you know. Guard your Medicare card and number like it was a credit card. You don't share your card, you don't laminate it, don't make copies, or let anyone else copy your card. Don't share your Medicare number with anyone who contacts you by telephone, email, or in person, unless you've given them permission in advance. Medicare will never contact you for your Medicare number or other personal information. And don't ever let anyone borrow or pay you to use your Medicare number. Next slide. So if you're looking for a new Medicare Advantage plan or you're enrolling in Original Medicare, remember the following steps. There's no such thing as early bird discounts, and there are not limited time offers. Medicare Advantage plans or Original Medicare are pretty much just as you see them. Don't let anyone rush you to enroll by claiming you need to act now for the best deal. We get really stressed out when people start telling us those kind of things, and then we feel pressured to make a decision that we may come to regret. And be wary of free gifts, free medical services, discount packages, or any offer that sounds too good to be true. Y'all didn't get to be this age and be on Medicare not to know that nothing comes for free. My mom always said if it was too good to be true, it wasn't. Next slide. And so use caution. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services and the Social Security Administration will never call you to update your information or give you a new card. They're just not going to call you. If you receive a call from anyone asking you to verify your Medicare or Social Security information, just hang up the phone immediately. Do not answer any questions from a caller that you do not know. And one of the things that we're seeing here locally in Mississippi is people calling and identifying themselves as being from one of the local hospitals and asking you to confirm your information. What you can do, not to be rude, we're here in the South, we're not rude. Tell them that you don't have that with you right now, and you'll call them back. They may try to give you a number. Just say thank you, hang up. And if you truly wanted to check if it was your doctor's office or a local hospital, then you look up the number and call them back. You are never guaranteed who you are talking to unless you personally look up that phone number and call that person. So never verify your information or give it out, even if it's somebody you think you know that you're talking to, unless you have initiated that call. Next slide. So that's my section. Now I'm going to turn things over to Danae, and she's going to talk about the SMP 3 keys to success.
Thank you, Danielle. Hi, everybody. I'm Danae, and like she said, we're going to talk about the 3 keys to success in preventing fraud, errors, and abuse. So let's get into it. Next slide. So the first key is prevent. So protecting your personal information is the best defense against healthcare fraud and abuse. So firstly, share your Medicare number only when necessary, such as at the doctor's office or the pharmacy. Also, only carry your Medicare card when you know you'll need to use it. Pack it away otherwise. I wouldn't carry it unless you just truly need it. Also, remember, Medicare will not call you to ask you for your Medicare number for any reason. And lastly, keep your records of all medical visits and procedures that take place. Also, medical equipment that's been ordered. Next slide. The second key would be to detect. Knowing how to spot suspicious activity can help you stop Medicare fraud and abuse in its tracks. So how would we do that? Think about your Medicare summary notices and your explanation of benefits that come out. You want to make sure that information matches the care that you actually got. Secondly, your Medicare summary notice is mailed to you by Medicare every 3 months. And if you have a Medicare Advantage plan, you'll receive the explanation of benefits after you receive healthcare services. Like I said, compare those things, the statements according to your personal records. It's good to just, jot it down if what you did, doctor's appointments, any procedures that you've had, and also medical equipment. If you don't have any medical equipment, it's good to look at those statements and make sure that that stuff is not on those statements and that you're not being billed for those things. Next slide. The third key and final key is to report. If you suspect that you have been a target of fraud, please report it. This will help you and others at risk for healthcare scams. Here are some of the ways that you can report this suspicious behavior. If you receive a suspicious call, don't give out any personal information. Report that call immediately to SMP. If you have any questions about your Medicare statements, you can call your healthcare provider or your plan. If you're not comfortable in calling that provider and you're not satisfied with that response, feel free to call SMP at our 877 hotline number shown on the screen. Next slide. Now, you may be wondering how you can help to become involved. Look, Senior Medicare Patrol is always looking for civic-minded individuals to join our fight in Medicare fraud. The benefits of volunteering in our program include gaining the satisfaction of participating in a national effort to empower members of your own community to prevent, detect, and report Medicare health fraud, errors, and abuse. Our volunteers receive trainings on the basics of Medicare and on healthcare errors, fraud, abuse, and scams. In addition to giving presentation and attending community events, our volunteers participate in a bi-monthly webinar and various trainings opportunities throughout the year. We also host a volunteer appreciation event in April for National Volunteer Week. So much fun. Volunteering for the SMP program is extremely flexible and is done on an as-needed basis. So basically, if you decide that you want to become a volunteer, you can decline if you're not available. It's very flexible. If you determine how often you can participate, And we also want to mention that it's great. It's a great opportunity for couples. In the past, we'd had couples volunteer, they team up and give presentations and present or attend at community events. If you think volunteering for SMP is something that you would be interested in, please give us a call at our toll-free number, and that number is 877-272-8720. We would be more than happy to send you one of our volunteer information packets and answer any questions that you may have about the process. Next slide. So if you want to stay up to date on the latest scams impacting our older adults in your community, you can use the QR code and scan from your cell phone, and then you'll be sent to our local, our social media platforms, including Facebook in Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, and we have a Spanish Facebook page as well. Also, YouTube and our podcast, which is called Sip and Learn with SMP on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Our state-specific SMP Facebook pages especially are a great resource for older adults and their care partners to find out about the hot scams happening as soon as we learn about them from reports into our that come in from our community partners. Next slide. So as mentioned on our previous slide, we have a toll-free number at 877-272-8720. You can call to report potential healthcare fraud or ask us questions about potential fraud, and even request that we attend an event or speak to your group on fraud, on our fraud prevention message. We'd love to come out, so please call us. SMP cannot be successful in fighting Medicare fraud without reports from people like yourself and invites allowing us to reach older and disabled adults in your community. Additionally, you can visit our website at www.stopmedicarefraud.org or for more information about the SMP program in your state. Our website can be viewed in multiple languages by adjusting the language tab at the top right part of your screen. Thank you for listening, and I'm going to turn this back over to Miss Sunny.
All right, thank you, Danielle and Danae, for that information. So coming up next month in our Webinar Wednesday series, we're going to be discussing genetic testing fraud. Do I really need these tests? And the webinar is scheduled for Wednesday, April 24th at 10:30 a.m. Central Time. So just be on the lookout for an invitation to register for that webinar. All right, so now it's time for our prize drawing. So as I mentioned when we started, everyone who registered prior to 10:15 a.m. this morning has been entered on our prize wheel. So let's go ahead and find that wheel. Let's see, there we go. And we're gonna go ahead and give it a spin. Let's see, and you do have to be present to win. So let's see, I'm not seeing Miss Myra's name on here, so we're gonna give it another quick spin. All right, it looks like Miss Elsie. Miss Elsie, you are our prize winner for this morning, and you will win your choice of a $25 Walmart or Amazon e-gift card. So I'll be reaching out to you shortly to find out which one you want, and we'll get that out to you as soon as possible. All right, so let's see if we can get our screen back over here. There we go. All right, so does anybody have any questions about the information we provided today or have another question about our program? If you do, you're more than welcome to raise your hand and ask us. You should see, if you're using an iPad, it's going to be down at the bottom. You have to click the 3 little dots and it should give you the option to raise your hand and ask any questions that you might have. Okay, well, I'm not seeing any hands raised. So this will conclude our presentation on protecting my identity from scammers. I'm going to be sending out an email after the webinar today, and it will include a link to a short survey. We would really appreciate it if you would take just a few moments to answer the survey questions and just let ACL know how we did with our presentation today. Thanks again for joining. We hope you have a great rest of your day, and we hope to see you again next month for Webinar Wednesdays with SMP. Thanks again, Danielle and Danae, for presenting today.